Welcome, everyone, to the Puff Drink Talk podcast. Conrad here.
Dylan.
Hilton.
George.
And if you notice, we are wearing some nice, fancy new headsets. We have some beautiful microphones. We're upgrading around here, gentlemen.
We are.
Very professional. I love it.
Slowly but surely.
Yeah.
You guys look great. You do. Look at the camera over there. Yeah.
Okay.
We
Yeah,
all look great.
Look over here, because then
all
people.
standardized and stuff.
Like,
Yeah.
amazing.
Amazing.
We're still having to hold the microphones to be able to talk, but I believe next week we should have arms.
What are you guys in the 20th century or something? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm using my arm instead of a mechanical arm.
We're in the 19th century. And and I just noticed I was talking to like the back of the microphone. So I'm
No,
sure...
you're fine.
Okay. People are like, what the hell
It's
is Conrad talking
multi-directional, I think.
about? Okay.
Oh.
All right. Well, gentlemen, let's get into it. What are we smoking for today?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. Hilton and I are actually smoking the same cigar.
Yeah.
Which
is an Oliva V Melania.
Oh, my favorite. I love Oliva V's.
Yeah.
And I always butcher this as the Figurado.
It is a figurado shape,
Right.
yeah.
I always want to call it Bellicosa, but it's Figurado.
Yeah. I think the difference between the Bellicoso and figurado, it's either the ring gauge or the length.
It could be.
Yeah.
And the one that Fuente has where it goes, it's similar is the Perfecto, right?
Yes, which is it has a thicker, it has an increasing ring gauge in size or decreasing.
And that's unique to Fuentes.
Fuentes,
I don't think
yeah.
anyone else does that.
No.
Cool.
I'm over here smoking on my pipe. I didn't bring the one that I got for a birthday gift, but my dad got me this one. I'm smoking this pipe, and then I am smoking on. See that?
A little cherry.
That looks good.
I can, if you give me a.
Sorry.
You switch to one of these cameras so you can.
Oh yeah, I can switch to that camera.
And you can put that up in there.
We for now we don't have a camera who comes to our direction yet, but we are working on that.
We sure are.
Soon.
It's funny that you mentioned that. I was on FaceTime with my sister a couple days ago, and she was on an iPad, and she had it mounted, and it just tracked someone walking around while they were using it. So I don't know if that's an iPad feature or if that's anyone can do that on FaceTime. I'd never seen it before.
Probably is a software, because there is there are quite a few software companies that they do that, but also there is a little arm thing that you can hold, and then it follows you. It's
It
pretty
wasn't that
interesting.
though. It was it's just native to Apple. Like my sister was at my dad's house, and there was some family over, and she just put it up against the wall, and as certain people would walk, it would just zoom in on my dad on the couch, then it would auto attach to my sister walking around the room.
That's cool.
That's
natively.
nice.
I'd
Yeah.
never seen it before.
It's probably called dynamic zoom or something.
Well, ironically, that's one of our topics for today, so stop ruining our agenda.
Okay. So what's the agenda?
I
then?
was
too
just
early
about
for a
to say
segue.
that. I'm taking notes. There is a structure here, ladies and gentlemen. So we follow that.
I didn't play basketball.
Sorry for the huge explosions. Bombs over Baghdad. George, actually, we're waiting on you for your cigar. What are you smoking today?
Man, I brought it. This is a gift from my birthday from those guys, from you guys. It's a JP Carrillo, La Historia. It's quite strong. It's not for the beginners, for sure. The only reason I chose this one is because the binder is Sumatra, so I'm into that. So I'm curious to do this one. So, yeah, it's a blend, right? So I just took notes of a few things here. The wrapper is Maduro, San Andres Maduro. And one characteristic of this cigar is that they have long fillers. So it burns more evenly, because it's just a long one instead of divided in many of them. So it burns better. It burns with, it stays longer, right? Like when you don't and the ashes stay there. So yeah, so that's what I'm gonna smoke tonight.
That's awesome. That's cool information. Thank you for
Looks
sharing that.
Very dark. Maduro. Looks good.
All right. Well, gentlemen, I guess start your engines. Grab a drink, ladies and gentlemen. I should say, grab your drink, grab whatever you're puffing on, and enjoy the podcast with us as we go over our topics for the day. There's a couple of topics that I thought that we would cover today. First topic: useful smartphone features, and I know Dylan, you just brought it up about that dynamic FaceTime feature tracking thing. That I thought that was cool. That's really cool.
I had never seen it before.
I'd never heard or seen that before either. Is it like a specific mode in FaceTime that you use, or is it just FaceTime in general that does it automatically?
I want to say it does it automatically, but I don't know if it's specific. She was FaceTiming me on her iPad. And so I don't know
iPad. Okay.
if her iPad is one of the newer ones and it just does it. I've never seen it before, so we can give it a little Google search. Because I really didn't know.
It's actually very interesting to find out because it would probably get people using iPhones and iPads more for conference calls and stuff if the other cameras don't do that. You know what I mean?
Okay, so it's a newer Apple devices have a feature called Center Stage. Center Stage. So when that's on, I guess it does like face tracking.
Not a newer feature, but a newer device.
Newer devices have the feature,
Okay.
I guess. But I mean, I'm telling you, it was really weird because as my sister would go out of the frame, it would find, like, my dad was laying on the couch and it just started zooming in on him, like, real close. And then she'd come in and it would zoom out and then zoom and kind of like follow her because she just had it looking at the whole living room and there were like 5 people there. And then it would just kind of zoom to one person. It was pretty cool. I just had never seen it before. Center Stage, I guess, is what it's called.
Center Stage. There we go. On newer devices, I have a iPhone 11, so I think I would have to upgrade in order to use something like that.
On that point that you just mentioned about Apple, one thing that I've been asking, because I use the internet, I work on the internet like basically 8 hours a day, so it's all conferences, and I always wanted to know, Dylan, that when you look at the camera, when you look right at the camera, you are looking at the person's eyes.
Right.
But when you look at the person's eyes, in the video, you're not looking at the person's eyes on the other side. Do you know what I mean? Because if I look at the camera, I'm not looking at the person. But if I look at the person right in the eyes, I'm seeing the person's reaction.
Right.
I'm not looking at them in the eyes, right? So there are many now features, many softwares, different software programs that they do that. Like, it doesn't matter where you look, it looks right straight into the person's eyes.
That's cool.
Interesting.
It's weird. I used it. It's weird. Because, man, just like
Feels
the
unnatural.
microphone when you had it before, remember that it doesn't matter where you do it? The same thing happens. So just remember I told you that I read it, that I was writing about, I read what you sent.
Yeah,
And I remember to say about that feature is cool.
that is cool.
Because you can pay attention right straight in the person's eyes. Okay? Yeah, so that's my contribution.
Cool. Right on. Hilton?
What do you wanna know?
What useful...
This
Underrated.
eye feature thing, it was invented long time ago by Leonardo da Vinci. He would do like
Get the hell
paintings,
out of here.
and doesn't matter where you are in the room, you look at the painting, and the painting is looking at you.
So you're saying it only took 400, 500 years for technology to catch up with old art?
Yes. No, I think technologies that we use on daily basis and stuff. It's interesting. Like you got like wearables, right, that can read your heartbeat and can read the whatever levels of oxygen that you have going through your body and stuff. So it can help a lot, right? So we are getting to a stage where there's so much technology on everything that we try and use that it potentially will help a lot because it's data, right? So it's the data that is there has never been collected before.
So before we dive into that a little bit further, because that's actually the next talking point, is wearables, what we currently have and what we're excited for in the future. Going back to useful smartphone or useful technology, that's kind of not really advertised. I had seen, I'll share something with you all that I thought was really interesting. Does anybody here have an extra shirt or a cloth or anything that has the tag? No?
I have a jacket.
Can you bring out your jacket really quick? I want to show everyone something. So,
Show me the magic.
I was blown away by this, and apparently from the comments, a lot of people were like, "Oh yeah, I've known this for years," and I'm like, "Well, I'm an idiot."
Using like your cell phone to kind of take a photo or read from the tag.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. If you take a picture of the tag, here, let me show you. It's the washing. It's the washing instructions, usually at the top. Usually on the back, it has a whole bunch of symbols. Does yours have it, George? Hold on, let me check. Let me check the back of your shirt, George.
I don't see it. There. Bad example.
Doesn't have it.
Clothes I wear.
Mine doesn't either.
I will be talking to y'all because they are trying to find a tag.
No, not even yours, George. Yours doesn't have it either. Well, shit. It was
Chuchi.
yeah, Del Chuchi. It was gonna be cool, man. I thought it was gonna be a. God damn it! I didn't prep for this, and of course, I was gonna bring an extra shirt to be like, watch it and stuff like that.
We do have a shirt in the warehouse I could try and run and go get. I have no idea if it's going to have the right tag or not, but it's a shirt that's never even been... It's like rolled up with a rubber band around it. It's the On It shirt that we got from like a trade show thing.
Yeah, we went to a presentation kind of thing. Yeah, it's in the warehouse.
For the sake of Conrad, I'll go grab it and see if we can save
but we can still explain what happened, right?
Yes. So thank you, Dylan. Appreciate it. So basically what you do is you open up your camera, you focus on the tag, and there's a bunch of different symbols on the bottom of it. One's a little washing machine or a little triangle. And of course, I'd always seen those symbols on those tags and never understood what it meant. But if you bring your camera up to it, it'll a separate icon will show up on the bottom. And if you click on it, it will tell you how to properly wash that shirt or that garment. So it's either do not iron or tumble dry low to dry it. So it gives you all of the instructions. I thought it was just a bit of useful information, from your iPhone to kind of teach you. Oh, let's see.
I feel like
Hey!
I'm not sure if it does.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
If you could bring this up to the camera and just
Well,
show...
I'll put on that camera over there.
It's those very, very small symbols on the bottom. It looks like hieroglyphics.
I'm not sure if I can get it to focus, but you get the idea. It's these guys.
Yes. Yes. Okay, now bring it back over here. Now let me pull up my iPhone. Hold on one second.
I can hold on a second. We are holding on a second.
Another second. Maybe one more.
So, if you, my
Okay,
apologies. I'm walking through the steps. So
let's put on this camera.
Okay.
Dylan can.
So what you
What am I
need to
doing?
do is you need to take a picture, and then at the bottom of the picture is a icon. Yeah, where that little. Yeah, there we go. So that bottom middle button where it shows
Like
a little
sparkle
washing
next to it?
machine. Yes, and then if you look up at the top, it says "Look up laundry care."
Yeah.
So we'll click that.
And it went dark.
Okay, gotcha. Give me a second. Look up laundry care. These are the results, and then it gives you the results of those symbols that it read. So it says ironing maximum 150 degrees Celsius.
Can you change that to Fahrenheit?
A
That
million,
would be
a million
true
Fahrenheit.
technology.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty interesting. A little helpful tips and tricks that Apple has implemented to make things a little bit more accessible and knowledge a little bit easier.
Well, I think that's pretty cool. If people knew to look into that, they would probably not burn their clothes. I have a good one too that probably a lot of people do know, but I think it's one of Apple's most underused features that is so easily built into the phone and everyone just overlooks it. But it's the Spotlight search. Do you use Spotlight search?
No, please do tell.
Okay. So the
What is a
search-
spotlight search?
Okay, so let's say we're on that camera. You're just on like the home screen of your iPhone. Okay, and then you want to look for Facebooky. Most people know that on a certain page in a certain group folder, like for me, it's here. There's Facebook, right? I never use that. Anytime I'm using any app, you just grab the middle of your phone and swipe down, and it pulls up a Spotlight search, and you just type in whatever app you're looking for, and you never look for an app again.
I do use that. I do use that. Yes.
So most of the time when I
I
ask
don't.
people are like, I've never used that before, but
What's the difference from the search over here?
it's the same thing.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Because I never use apps, right? So I just click here, and then usually the 10 most common ones are right on the top, or I just type the first 2 or 3 words.
So there's a thing right there where I can press show more and it jumps to 8 or
Yeah.
show less. So that search, it's the same thing. You can hit search or just anywhere in the middle, you just swipe down real quick. It'll do the exact
all
same
right,
thing.
the same thing. All right. No, it's
So-
just like maybe there were other features that I wasn't aware of.
It also will pull up like recently used apps and stuff. Not like at the top, but it'll do like Siri suggestions. But I use it most of the time if I'm.
I know another one, and it's kind of interesting because sometimes you go like, "What tree is that tree?" The other day I was like,
No way.
I was curious about the trees, and I took a photo of the trees, and like 30% of the trees here in Austin are Chinese trees.
Yeah.
This is like the seeds brought,
Did you know?
So
and you it's the same thing. You take a picture of the tree, and then when you swipe up a little on the photo, when you go to see the photo, it's gonna populate like information on the subject, right? And it's like in the case of the tag of washing and ironing and whatnot, the tree is gonna give you the location geographically of the tree and the type of tree it is. If it is a pear, if it is oak, if it is a Chinese tree, and it's interesting.
That's really cool.
I wonder what all else it does, because I know for a fact it does it with animals too. So it'll tell you the breed of a dog or a cat, any of those
We'll
things.
get there. We'll get there. Tamiris was a rotten thumb. With anything she touched, she would touch a cactus and it would die. Since she started using the app like 2 years ago, I think it's a specific app. It identifies the plant, and I think the paid versions go even deeper because you have other devices that you can put it right in the vase, and then you know how much humidity it has in there. So yeah, Tamiris now is a green thumb. She's a green thumb. Yeah, she
That's cool.
really taking care of.
There is
well
an
now.
app. Yeah, there is an app. Snapseed that it tells you like what to do to fix if the plant is ill or
Yes.
something like that. But just the camera app on iPhone, it tells you what. It doesn't tell you how to cure it, probably yet. Because one day it might. And but it's interesting. Like that one is pretty cool. The app is really nice.
Well, there's also like a really cool search feature in the photos. Like you take a photo of anything on your iPhone, it scans it and reads it. So you can go to the search section and photos and type in whatever. Like type in tree, it'll pull up all the photos you've ever taken of a tree.
Yeah.
Type in shoe, type in glasses.
The name of a person.
Yeah, because it'll start using facial recognition and it assigns it to a contact. So I could type in Samantha and it'll pull up all the pictures I have of Samantha. So it's very intuitive. I think these are a lot of things people probably know, but no one uses it on the regular. I don't even use it on the regular.
I think it's the big data. There's so much to be done, and like I go to bed with a podcast, sleeping with that. I'm cutting that off, but because it's not enough. Like 16 hours is not enough. So it's just a competition of so many options.
I have to put a sleep timer on my phone that I hold down. I tell it to shut off in an hour and it'll lock the screen.
Exactly.
And turn
Yeah,
everything off.
turns everything off. It's another
I
one.
listen to a podcast while I sleep, and then if I fall asleep in 20 minutes, I only lost 40 minutes of it. I mean, and I can change the time.
And you can always go back, because you kind of know exactly where it stopped. Kind of know. Yeah.
Without
like.
that, it's like autoplays, right? Depending on what app you're on. It's like you listen to a whole podcast, you fall asleep, then it goes to the next one, then it plays through, and then you don't remember where you were. Like, how did I end up listening to Billy Ray Cyrus?
There's a company called Audiobook, which is a competitor of Audible and other ones.
Yeah.
And they had a feature, like, right when you listen to that, it tracked when you listen later, and then you say, hey, do you want to go back at 3 minutes or 5 minutes? It would tell you. You encourage you to go back and re-listen because you might have missed the end. So that's pretty cool.
I've had like a sequence of a podcast that was like, how did I listen to all these 5 podcasts? You know what I mean? It was just like autoplay, and it played for the whole night. Like 8 hours, 6 hours, whatever time that I slept. But it's like kept on playing. It's like, now I don't even remember the one that I was listening to when I fell asleep.
But what would be crazy is if your brain secretly knew everything and you're just like playing dumb, like on the outside. Like I never listened to this podcast, but deep down inside, there's a part of your brain's like, oh yeah, you listened to it while you were sleeping. You know all of this.
Well, there are people that go to sleep listening to different languages, thinking like subconsciously they can start learning another language. But
do you remember that drug from Limitless, NZT, the NZT? So I don't know. I'm accumulating all this knowledge. It's been a while. I'm just waiting for that kind of drug. It's got to be approved by the FDA, of course. But I would do that. I would
not
do
if you
that.
have enough money, it doesn't.
Just one more point. Do you guys know WikiHow?
Yes.
Right? So it's basically text, some images, right? Now people are just copying it, put it in an AI, and it produces a video for you.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow.
How about that?
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Or simply they just put the text and the images and write, and then there's an audio, and it describes the audio too.
Before you get too deep into that, George, we need to move because that's the third topic. is the most underrated technological advancement or device that we use that we take advantage of.
Okay.
So, getting into the second topic. So, I think we've all kind of hit the points as far as useful smartphone features. That's some really interesting stuff, guys.
There will be so much more, but we don't.
We don't have the time.
Yeah.
Well, not about the time. I mean, we could potentially talk for about
You
10
have
hours
to
on this.
listen to
Yeah,
us
yeah.
in other podcasts to know what we think about it. And by the way, why don't you go there and hit a like?
Maybe
Comment.
even subscribe.
Comment.
Subscribe and share.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's it. So what's next?
Wearables. What are our favorite wearables? I know Hilton was talking about some of the features and fun wearables that we use. Are we excited about future wearables that are yet to come out? We want to talk about that.
I like the idea of the AI like Ray-Bans from Meta.
That was going to be mine. I am
Go ahead on
serious. I'm seriously considering buying that. I feel like that's going to be a huge one. I feel like the Oculus and
Meta
Apple
Quest,
Pro. Yes.
Apple Vision Pro.
Apple Vision Pro is very heavy on the face, and it's not what I would feel like I would use on a daily basis. I think it feels to me like an entertainment
Right.
novelty where, and I know George is going to disagree with me on this.
No. I would just say that I see the Vision Pro, if you ask me, as fashion. In a catwalk, very few people will wear that kind of. It's going to inspire something else.
Right.
I think it was just a door for the future. That's how I feel it.
Exactly. And that's the thing is like you can wear that fashion, you can wear it on special occasions and use it on special occasions, but wearing it day to day, I don't think so. So that's where I feel like the Meta glasses, the Ray-Ban Meta glasses is a day-to-day game changer because that's something I use all the time is sunglasses or glasses.
Well, did either of you have a chance to listen to Mark Zuckerberg talk about it a little bit on Joe Rogan's podcast?
No, I haven't.
Obviously, it's one-sided. It's something he's been working on, and he's not an Apple fanboy or anything. But one thing he gave credit to Apple for, the only thing really, is that the Apple Vision Pro probably has one of the sharpest, most crystal clear screens that you can have. Where it starts to kind of have drawbacks is when you're actually trying to use it for virtual reality. As you move around, kind of the delay and there's some stutters.
Yeah.
So he's like, if you want to buy a $3,500 headset to watch an amazing crystal clear 8K movie on an airplane, you want to wear a $4,000 device on an airplane, like that's probably the best use for that. Anything else for $400, you buy the Meta Quest, and it probably does everything else better than what the Apple Vision Pro does, except for just how sharp the screen is. Because
Sold.
to get that screen,
Buying it.
yeah, they had to compromise so many other things. It needed more computing power to be able to do that. It needed a bigger battery, so the whole thing's heavier, it's clunkier, all to have a really good screen. So his device, in his opinion, and I'm probably I've never used either of them, so I can't really weigh in. But in his opinion, the Meta Quest is better, and it's like $400 versus almost $4,000. Now you have wearable glasses, sunglasses, that it's not going to do the exact same things, but we're getting further and further along in technology where imagine the weight difference of that. You'd have no problem wearing that for 8 hours a day.
And that was, I think, the biggest complaint. I know, George, you brought it up, was at first it felt heavy, where you were kind of leaning forward. You felt like your head was being dropped down. To have something light, on your eyes, using the bridge of the nose to hold it up, I think that's a game changer right there, honestly.
But it's all about elasticity and scale, right? How many people can spare 3,500 now? right? So it's kind of even you have second. There are so many options. Again, you get to the options situation. You know, like what am I better off with? You know,
Right.
like in the trade off. So would you be? I don't know if I would be saying the same thing. It was $1,000, $990.
$400 is the meta one. So it's
Well, the Meta one.
So do you understand? So it's like infinitely cheap. The purchasing
Yeah,
power for that, man, I'll tell you.
Mark Zuckerberg said that it costs $10,000 to make one, and he's selling for $400. So he's actually banking on large scale production to reduce the prices, right?
Yep.
So that's what it is. Like, it costs so much more now, but the idea is to cost less and be profitable in the future.
He also mentioned that it's really hard to judge companies on the first generation of anything. So it's a lot more fair when you do the third iteration. Really, is like the third gen of anything is what you're really going to judge more. So I think it's out of everything Apple's done. We were just listening to it in the car, and I'd already watched some of it, but it's probably the only new thing Apple has done in 20 years, for the most part.
I would say the Apple Watch.
I don't think they were the first to do it. They might have been. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I that's true. That is a valid point. But I feel like a lot of the features that are on the Apple Watch are like a first.
Yeah. Well, now we're on like Apple Watch 10 or something, you know, and then we're on iPhone 15. So just
iPad 9 or 10 as well, something like that.
They're not really going out of their way to really be innovative. They're just adding new features to the same thing they've had. The Apple Watch came out when I was in high school, I think.
That's crazy.
And look, for 15 years or more, Apple sold for very specific customers, right? And then later, especially with the iPhone, they kind of popularized their products. Can we assume that?
Yes.
Right. So I think still in line with what Apple wants to sell, which is vanguard. You know, is to be ahead. You know, to be the pioneer. And I think, man, you had the experience. It is a great experience. It is it depends on, you know, if you watch 3-4 hours of TV a day, it's just gonna be heavy there. But the quality and the sound quality, how so seamless it works, you know. So I want to have the experience with the Meta one, because I have to compare. You know? I have to compare them.
The on the Vision Pro, for example, Spock, right, our friend, he doesn't really use it anymore. He says that maybe once a week he's gonna watch a movie that nobody wants to watch, and then he goes and uses it. Of course, when everybody was on vacation, he used it pretty much every day. But now that life is happening, he just doesn't, because it makes no sense. He said, like, I don't know, that there's not enough apps. There's nothing that justify me using it.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't. So, but I have a question though. Google Glass, was that too early then to present to the world?
It was ahead of its time, yeah. I think that was a struggle trying to find.
It's a hit and miss, because you're the first one doing this, you know, right?
And even like, trying to make that affordable at the time and trying to do the research and everything, it was actually a really appealing product.
What was the price point?
I'll look it up.
$200, $199, I thought.
Look it up also on when it first came out, please. Because that's interesting, because it was very ahead of its time.
It had to have been like 2013. Yeah. It was first unveiled in 2013 and initially marketed for general audience. It was released to the public in 2013 with a beta version available, let's say 2015. I remember it. I was a senior in high school in 2015. That's when I remember being the most excited about it. I'm like, oh, it's going to be a cool product. And then it's the first of its kind. It's just going to get better. And then it was just almost immediately canned.
Did anyone at school had it?
No one.
No. Yeah, I never met anyone that had it.
Neither,
What was the price
neither
point?
have I.
Well, I think it was a little fluke, right? So it
Yeah,
flopped.
yeah.
So nobody really bought it. That's why it's not around anymore.
Price point coming up.
1,500.
Yeah, way more expensive than I thought it was. Yeah,
I mean, and that's still less than half the price of the Apple Vision Pro. Granted, I'm sure it doesn't do as much. And then 1,500, back in 2013 is
Yeah.
probably.
are you
2,700
considered
now.
the 1,000,000% of inflation?
But you can
since then?
you can see also version 2 of it was $1,000.
So
To
for
try to
35%?
keep under the magical number. But
Well, and if we're being honest, these are ugly.
yeah, it was a little bit like too much. It was too futuristic, right?
That looks like something from Spy Kids or something.
Yeah, that's right.
It's definitely a person from San Francisco walking down the streets would wear. It's like, get out of here, you dork.
Yeah. That's
But-
a
but think it-
widget, right? Like, yeah.
Think of it this way: if they had not done that, Apple wouldn't have done the Vision Pro, which is like, okay, so just a tiny little thing on the left eye or the right eye is not gonna cut it. And then Meta would go like, yeah, that's too heavy. We got to do something lighter. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
You can see like Meta is already a version 3, right? Even though they're working on the project at the same time as Apple Vision Pro. But
I mean, look at that. Look how nice that looks.
They just look like classic Wayfarers.
Yeah.
So
Guys, and you see how aesthetics is important?
it is
Also,
yeah. Yeah.
like, right? So I can't see myself walking in the middle of the streets. They tried to sell the idea with the Vision Pro, but it was just awkward, like too awkward. It seems like the person is like disconnected with reality. I don't
agree.
feel that. I think there is an integration between the environment, the person, and technology, and people want to see this. You see, we are in control. Human beings are in the center. Technology is kind of around us. It's not like a Batman seatbelt, So that's how I feel it.
Well, and that's what you. Oh, sorry, Dylan. Go ahead.
no, you're fine. I would just argue I agree with all those things. It's almost like you would start here, and then a future iteration would be the Apple
Yes.
Vision Pro, because it's almost too jarring to look at. It looks like an episode of Black Mirror. People walking around. Imagine Times Square, everybody wearing those and interacting with each other. It doesn't seem real.
Well, and to that point, I was just going to say exactly what you're saying, George. To Spock, Hilton, you were talking about Spock using it. How many times? Not only the amount of times did he use it, but he only used it when his family was out of town and he was by himself. He would watch movies, and then even at that, nowadays when he's with his family, it's like, oh, I'll just watch a movie with it. So it socially distances yourself away from society.
Yep.
Because then and that's the novelty of it. It ends up being a novelty. Where this is like, I can put these on, wear it down the street, text messages, directions are going to pop up in my face, and I can still interact with you and have a conversation with you like normal.
But the cell phone already does that, though. You see somebody like just watching a movie but not really paying attention to the movie, just like on the phone on the small screen over here, either texting or at the same time on X, typing about the movie that they're watching, but they're not really fully embracing the thing. So what the Vision Pro, which potentially means, as Dylan said, it's supposed to be a future version of it, so it might be too early still.
Yeah.
It's still ahead of its time, so it's not really that necessary right now.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's kind of more than it's disconnecting than it is connecting. And I remember there's an old feature on Xbox where you could log into like Netflix or something with a group, and then you and all your friends could keep your headset on and watch a movie together and talk. So I could see that being something in like Apple Vision Pro. You're almost mimicking being at a movie theater, but we're all in our own houses, watching a movie together. But that's how often are you really going to use that? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But you see,
It's
but
a novelty
I
thing.
think also when you see the first time you hear about the Vision Pro, you have great expectations about it. Excitement, right? And you see, I'm gonna maybe you guys have had the same experience I did. The first time you listen to someone with the AirPods, the first time you see someone speaking by himself or by herself walking on the streets. Do you remember when it happened?
Yeah.
I was like, what? What?
AirPods?
Yeah, the AirPods.
Yeah.
You remember that? The first time, like, person walk, is this person talking to me? Or is this person crazy walking? You know, no. The first time, no cables. Okay, no cables, right? So this is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I still get that in the grocery store every now and then. I have them in, and people
You
look
do?
at me all the time. It's like, I'm not talking to you. I'm just talking on the phone. It takes
That's
a minute
funny.
for people to see the white in your ear. But for wearable technology, the specific thing that you asked, like, what are we looking forward to in the future? But I think a lot of people would say, like, one of the few wearable technology that everybody has is a smartwatch. And I do enjoy, I wear it every day. But even more so, I really enjoy my AirPods. So when I have them in, especially in like the transparency mode, they're basically like clinical hearing aids.
Yes.
So I hear better.
Yeah, there is another thing that came so much time before the AirPods, which is the traditional, Top Gear. Jeremy Clarkson talks about it all the time. It's like the BMW driver. It's always wearing something, right? And I'm gonna pick it up over here because I got one recently. But this is old. This is old.
Yes. Yeah, I remember those. The Bluetooth earpiece.
And then
Yeah.
these, right? It goes around your ear, and then it's stuck in there, and you have the microphone as well. So it's a headset,
Yep.
right? And this is a traditional BMW driver that is wearing that because at the time, like 2007, 2006, there was no Bluetooth in the cars. So and then they would have these Bluetooth, headsets to be able to talk on the phone when they're driving. So
That was like the height of Bluetooth when everybody was like, "Oh, you have to have something Bluetooth."
yeah, and that's why the BMW drivers, because like, okay, more expensive cars, and they have money to buy this kind of
I'm glad you
thing.
brought that up. So my wearable is not physical. It's the freedom I discovered with the Bluetooth. So not having cables in my
Yes.
in my in my keyboard, the mouse, the cell phone, whatever, like the headsets, any headset, and then it's so seamless right now. It's so seamless that sometimes when you turn on the car in the garage, then my meeting or Tamida's meeting is interrupted because it connects immediately.
Yeah.
So I would like to have an odd, like a tribute here to Bluetooth. So definitely.
Are you trying to jump into the next topic as far as the most underrated?
Of course.
What
That's
a
my
segue.
point. That's what I said. I was looking at the time. I would do that at 40 minutes, but I anticipated that.
So we are always trying to go further on your topics.
Yeah. So the last topic is most underrated, but daily utilized technology that we feel like deserves a little credit. We should talk about. I think that's a great example. Bluetooth. Show some love for Bluetooth right there.
Yes, Wi-Fi. How about Wi-Fi?
Wi-Fi is like you can't function without Wi-Fi nowadays.
Yeah.
Have you seen one of those Maslow pyramids of necessities? Have you ever heard about that?
Yes.
So they created like, all the basic necessities, but before that, they have a bigger base, and that's the internet. That's Wi-Fi. So the society wouldn't function right now without the Wi-Fi.
What about cell phones themselves, right? People just take it for granted. Oh, it's a telephone, but how does that work?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
So that this is very like people don't really even.
Engineering and architecture behind.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say cell phones are like they're so overvalued that people are invasive because you have a cell phone nowadays. I texted you, why didn't you text me back 10 seconds later? I know you have your phone in your pocket. It's like, well, I'm doing something. So now it's so easy to access someone that people kind of feel entitled to your time that look, I would never want to live life without a cell phone, but sometimes you take a step back and you're like, man,
I'm
for all the
dying,
good
Dylan.
things, we might be better off with flip phones again.
I'm dying to have someone telling me this. Like, didn't you answer me in 10 seconds or 10 minutes? Man, I have a platform of possible answers. None would be able. I would be able to speak in this podcast.
Oh, you might, but I was actually thinking about it the other day. It's like before, to have a communication with someone, you would send a letter, and that was already like sending a letter like through mail, right? It was already like post office. It was already an advanced technology, because before that it was the people.
Birds.
The people like I forgot. It was
Did you get my pigeon? No, somebody shot. The neighbor shot it down.
Damn it.
Son of a bitch.
but they were like people, physicians, right? They would travel to go from city to city to cure people, right? In the 1200s, 1300s, and they would be the one carrying the messages, the letters to people. Oh, you're going to certain town, and so it would be like that. So there's a picture time over here.
Can you please press the button over there?
Press a button.
Yes. There you go. Just for the registry.
We got a
Yeah.
picture.
Got a picture.
But
That's
so basically, messages you would only be transmitted by the physicians that would go from town to town, curing people, cutting hair, amputating limbs, and bringing letters, right? And
Yeah.
it and then once the post office was created, it was already like a high technology, per se. And now it's a text message that just go from here to Japan in a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
Right? And yeah.
Conrad and I were kind of briefly discussing this randomly before we came into it, but nowadays, like telemedicine is a thing too. Like you don't even need to go to a doctor's office. You could hop on a Zoom call and get a prescription for something, which gets automatically sent to a pharmacy. Then you just go pick it up.
Do you guys do it?
I don't, but not because of a specific reason. I don't go to the doctor very often.
I did one time. I had pink eye, and they were like, "You can come in, but you need an appointment like 2 days." And I'm like, "No, I'm hurting." Or a nurse will call you and talk to you FaceTime and in like 30 minutes. And I'm like, hell yeah, talk to me in 30 minutes. Sure enough, he goes, "Yep, you got pink eye. I'll send in the medication." Pharmacy messaged me 5 minutes later. Go pick up your stuff.
Flexibility, for sure. Yeah.
The problem with that is that son of a bitch still charged me a full medical visit. It wasn't like
Oh yeah.
it wasn't cheap of looking at me through FaceTime and being like, you get a discount. No, it was still full price.
But you know what?
Think it that way. Your discount was not having to spend the time driving and
That's what I
sitting
was
down,
just about to say.
Yes.
filling up a form,
Yeah.
and waiting, and then driving back.
Waiting.
Charge.
Waiting.
She should
waiting,
charge.
guys.
Just charge more.
She should have charged you more because she gave you
Don't
time.
give them ideas.
Yeah.
Don't give them
that's
ideas.
that's a valid point. That is
Well,
a
I
very
talk about
valid
this all the
point.
time. You're not paying for product. In most of the cases, you're paying for convenience.
Yes.
And I just had to go to the eye doctor to get a new prescription. And if you not advertisement at all, but I see it all the time. You could literally go on 1-800contacts.com. They sell glasses too. but they will scan your face, and then you hold up like a credit card, driver's license, and it uses that to scale the size of your screen, and it will tell you to get a measuring tape out. You stand a certain distance from your screen, and you can do an eye exam. And then from that eye exam, let's say your insurance, that's in your network, you could do all of that stuff. You never even leave your living room, and you can get a prescription. I didn't do it. I went to an actual eye doctor. I filled everything out before I got there, patient information, and I still got there and waited 30 minutes before she saw me. It's just such a waste of time.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. Time is much more valuable than anything else.
Yes.
And I know that because when we get booked up, right, Dylan? It's tough because I've got to drive here, drive there, and the driving is, for example, if you pick up a time of my calendar, for example, it always blocks 30 minutes before and after because I have to consider the travel time.
Yep.
So it's complicated.
Guys, we need to move on.
Let's do it.
We are reaching that point. How are we liking the cigar so far?
Wonderful. I've
What
had
we're
this
smoking on?
many times. These have been aging a little bit. We haven't had them too long, but it's very consistent every time. I think we've probably done a review on one of these before. So
Yeah.
I'll let George talk on his.
As you guys know, it's just my impression, right? I feel like maybe some like cooked nuts, like I don't know, I would say probably a cashew or Brazilian nut. So, but I would say that would be, like when you cook it and you feel that a little bit of the smoke in there.
Yeah, like toasted.
Yeah. Yes, toasted. Yeah. Also some pepper, like maybe. Yeah, I would say that.
Very cool. Very awesome.
How was your tobacco?
Very sweet. A little too sweet.
Was it very cherry?
It was very cherry. It was a little too cherry.
Too cherry. You'd probably have to mix that with something else, right?
And the problem is, like, smoking a pipe is one of the. I mean, obviously, it's hard to hold the microphone and smoke a pipe and talk at the same time.
We'll improve that.
So, I mean, that's fine, but it's a little too sweet. But it's good. I think you're right. You gotta add some other darker tobacco in there.
Yeah, blend that with something else. So you just get like a hint of the cherry or something, maybe.
Exactly. But it is nice. It is really.
Or
nice.
just give it to Paul.
He'll smoke it.
Absolutely.
We have a new thing coming up right now.
I'm excited for it. Should we roll in?
Do. Conrad's news segment of the week. So weird to say. But here we are. Another week down. Another week of news that is happening around the world. Gentlemen, some big things have been happening this week. One of the biggest news that just came out, a ceasefire has been agreed upon between Israel and Hamas. It will go into effect this Sunday. Both sides have agreed to a ceasefire, ending this over year-long conflict. Hamas has agreed to release the last of the 33 prisoners that they have in their possession, or that they've been holding on to this whole time, and effectively ending this conflict in the Middle East that would have been dragging on and on and on if it wasn't for both sides figuring out what they need to do and coming to a conclusion. President Biden and President Trump both collectively, both of their teams work together with Israel and Hamas to bring this ceasefire to fruition. Very cool information about that. Next, I know George over here talked about the FDA. Red dye number 3, El Trace, it's no longer in foods here in the United States. I know a lot of other countries around the world have already prohibited it and banned it. The United States being one of the last ones to. There are a couple other countries that still use it, but for the main countries in the world, the United States still uses it. But that has been approved or enforced by the FDA. All foods that are currently using red dye number 3 will no longer be using red dye number 3. They have until January of 2027 to comply with that rule.
I have a question on that then. It means that we're going to have to use tomatoes to get our pasta red.
Yes.
Oh wow, something good?
Yeah, seriously.
God forbid.
Next, the winds are dying down in Southern California, giving the firefighters a chance to catch up and put out more of that blaze. That is huge for the locals in the Los Angeles community. Please make sure to stay safe if you are listening from there. Seek shelter, and your thoughts and prayers are from all of us here for a speedy recovery from those horrific wildfires that have just devastated that area. California, unfortunately, this happens every year, but this one is just a weird fate. Circumstances were just perfect for a complete disaster. So our hearts, thoughts, and prayers are out to everyone affected by those fires in the Los Angeles area. Next, AI voice scams are on a rise. AI is the new scammer in the room, gentlemen. And ironically enough, AI voice scams are out there. Be prepared, prep yourself, be careful with the information that you are sharing over the phone. On the flip side, AI is also being used to target scammers and give them a taste of their own medicine. I'll link some videos in the description for everyone to enjoy. There's a video of a woman having a 3-hour conversation using an AI bot as a grandma, and it completely melts down the scammer on the other side of the phone, where they just go into a tirade of screaming explicitives, and it's just fantastic. So AI, bad and good.
Can we expand on that a little bit, on the AI voice scammer thing?
Sure, absolutely.
Because we see a lot of videos like of people scamming the scammers, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, but your name is such and such, and then they get desperate, you know. But the thing is that these people, they don't know that they're doing it wrong, because they just think it's part of the job that they're doing, right?
Exactly. Yeah. A lot of them are just hired by some company that's like, hey, stick to the script, get the information, get their social security number, get their, address, get their credit card numbers so that we can charge gift cards. So it's untraceable, or whatever they do to most scams now.
Yeah, they don't get any compassion from me.
And that makes two of us.
Could
Yes.
care less if they're an employee following a script,
Yeah.
I think I get what you're saying. It's a morality issue. Maybe they just don't even see it as that. I don't know if they have it. If your job was telling you to do a bunch of stuff that you didn't agree with, and maybe they don't have that problem. I just maybe don't work that job. But I think that's awesome. And I saw some other stuff too with like cyber hacking, like AI hacking. But this, on the same side, there's offense and there's defense. So people will use AI for cyber defense.
Yep.
So you can't definitively say it's good or bad. It just is. And you got to be smart. And it's harder and harder for our older generations, our parents and grandparents, to stay aware and make sure that you're not clicking on links, you're not giving people information because, grandbaby Sue called you and wanted your social security number. People fall for it all the time. So we have to educate our family members on these things.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Still on AI, have you seen that Zuckerberg said today that the code has this days counted because the AI will replace coders, anyone working with coding. So It's another use it for AI. Is it good? Is it bad?
So I will be the judge.
He mentioned that it's going to free up people for more creative things. And
Yes.
it's a story repeating itself, like Industrial Revolution and whatnot. So like people that did things by hand and now it's machines doing it. There is a time period where a lot of people are going to lose jobs. And of course, it's a bad thing for people, from the economy as well. But there will be a transition where, okay, so now I got to be creative on what am I going to do to make money. So
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's a double-edged sword. It's bad and good. But I've never lost faith in the human person. They've always overcome any obstacle that I've ever talked to. Given any circumstance, they always find a way to overcome their situation for the better for them.
Resilience.
Next, the House of Representatives were having their excuse me. They were having their dang it, what is it called? Their Trump's cabinet picks were having their what is it? Grilling interviews. What's it called? Statements, pressures, testimonies.
There's another word. I know what you're talking about, dude. It's just at the tip of my mouth here.
Yeah. It's from both sides, Republicans and Democrats.
Those are kind of hearings, like
yes. They're hearings to
vet, probably to vet the candidates. If they see if there's even battings, like a lot of I saw the bets, like if this is gonna be approved or not, like hold. You know what I told you, like hold, sell, or buy.
Yeah.
So just to make sure, like counting on who is gonna be vetted in there,
And I believe already one person has been disapproved or dropped from Trump's cabinet picks, and I believe it's not the CIA. It was some woman, and I forget her name and what position she was from. I'll have to double check, but I believe she was dropped from Trump's cabinet picks. So his team will have to go back. But a lot of them, that's going on right now. There's a lot of interesting sound bites, a lot of information from both sides that are being spewed out, that you're seeing the hypocrisy of short-term conversations that people are giving these people or these candidates and making them state a point, and then while they're discussing it, like, all right, that's my next question is, why are you still talking about this? I only have 20 more it's just a antiquated old system where podcasting and long-form communication is honestly the future of open dialogue and really getting to the root of all problems. So that's going on. And then lastly, but not least, gentlemen, next week, President Trump will be officially sworn in as president on the 20th. Monday. So we will have a new president of the United States. Big news for the country. A lot of big things already. Ron DeSantis is preparing the state for deportations. A lot of other states are prepping. RFK is huge on X, if you follow him, stating that fast food restaurant chain owners or restaurant representatives are going to meet with him and President Trump on the White House on day 2 to discuss all of the changes that he is going to be discussing and implementing for the food here in the United States. So some big changes are coming up. A lot of interesting news will be coming up in the next coming week. So stay tuned for Conrad's news of the week. Is there anything that anybody would like to talk about? Any of those topics? Discuss about?
Just want to say I loved that segment. That was really cool. It was like watching news in person.
Better.
I like
than
it.
95% of anyone want to watch it. Like authentic,
unbiased.
Yes.
Straight to the facts.
Authentic.
Conrad's news.
Yes.
One of the things I guess that they did, and I obviously it's not like congressional hearings. I can't think of the name, but with the House of Representatives, one of the things that they did was there was a bill that they had to vote on, and it passed to essentially ban transgender men competing in women's sports. And it might be specifically at schools that are funded through the government funding. But that was one of the biggest things that came out of the news that I saw either yesterday or this morning, that there were only 2 Democrats that voted in favor of banning it, and all the rest were for it. And then obviously all of the right were for banning it.
As someone who deals as their job, George, dealing with sports and athletes,
Ooh, yeah.
how does that? What is your perspective on this?
I've asked, probably I have asked. I've been asking every single of my students, my clients about that. It's a conversation that always pops up. It's very complex. It's very complex because, for instance, women work super hard their whole careers, and then all of a sudden, someone who is number 700 in the ranking goes there and beats all the records. I understand that. So I think there should be an easier solution. Maybe find other ways to organize it. For example, in running, like if you run faster than I do, you go in group A, you compete in group A. So we could do other ways to do that. I don't think banning is the solution. I think it's so rare that to happen, that you make a lot of fuzz out of that. It's so rare. I think they should be treated. They should have other treating. We shouldn't be politicizing it at this point. They're people. Like they
Should
made
be
their
like
choices.
Creating like a new category.
I think it's like open category. Anyone can compete in this category. Anyone can compete. Anyone. For example, for weight, think about fights, right? So you don't see a like weather fight. Yeah, like
Floyd Mayweather.
No. The category.
Oh, welter.
Welter. You don't see a welter fighting like in other categories. They
Right.
play against people in that category. So if the woman is 55 kilos, so it doesn't matter. Just make it. They compete because they belong to the same group. So there are, it's complicated because it's about biology. There should be more studies about that. I think it's okay. Do you want to ban it? And it was banned, right? But I think there should be other options for that. That we should work as a society for them to do that. Okay, so find a middle ground in a different kind of a measure for competitions.
I missed some of that. I had to step out and use the restroom. But I think there have also been some talks about creating, like, there's, men's league, women's league, and then a transgender league where they can compete against each other. The problem is I think that feels a little bit divisive for that group of people, but it's still a way that you can compete. But I think you kind of hit the biggest talking point is the biology on that. Physiology is very different. Bone density is very different. So while you might weigh the same, there's very different things that biologically your body is catered to do one thing. It excels in one direction where the other doesn't. So it's just not necessarily an even playing field. We don't see a lot of this conversation with women transitioning to be a man, competing in sports with men and dominating. It's really it's the other way around. So I think that tells you a lot too. But absolutely, we should do more studies on it because it never hurts to be educated on the subject. But it's just been for the past year, especially the Olympics were last year. So it's just been a big talking point. So I think that's why they had to make it a big deal now in the cabinet.
Yeah, we had the Olympic Games that there was like a lot of things going with that boxing or kickboxing.
Boxing.
Boxer, yeah. So Yeah, it's not. Brazil had a judo once, also like yeah, it's a long time ago, but it's it is complicated. I feel like sports would be dominated by natural hormones. If that happens, like and as Dylan said, it's only one direction. It's not the other direction. So it does tell you a little bit, and it to me it feels like why there needs to be a talk about it, because it's on the face, right? and and then you see female athletes go like, yeah, I've fought so much to be number one, and then now I lost this number one, even though I have beat everybody that was a female as well. But then these other female that's transgender to be a female now, it's taking my space, and it's so easy. Like, let's say if it is a speed thing, it's like with so many seconds advanced. It's like it's not really fair, but at the same time, it is something that's happening, and it is a community thing, right? So it's life, and it has to be looked at, and then maybe regulations, maybe categories needs to be created, because that's why there is men and women sports, so maybe it needs to be a different one, a transgender from female to male, and then male to female. So there should be like four, different categories. But that might not have enough athletes, because I know that on like elementary school, when they have like plays and runs, fun runs and stuff, everybody runs on the same, because they're all kids, and if you divide, it's not going to have enough people to compete and to make it fun. So everybody competes together, right? So yeah, I think an open category also might not be a bad idea, which would be like a fifth category. So I don't know. I have no. I have a little formed opinion, which is what I just said, but I'm not involved with sports to really, for my opinion, to really matter.
But I also feel like you have daughters. And imagine if your daughters really excelled, or they picked a sport, karate, judo, or something, and then all of a sudden they want to get serious and competitive into it, and they're doing really well, and then all of a sudden, they're breaking records, and then they have to compete against a transgendered female, male to a female. And like, how would you feel if a situation like that happened?
I don't know,
Yeah.
right? Because it didn't happen. So I think I would be. I think I would be a little upset. It's like, hey, it's just like hormones that is beating my daughters, right, on this competition.
Well, this is coming from you as like an I don't know, and you have daughters. I have no children, and just envisioning having daughters and having that happen, it's enraging. In the sense of like it's just not fair competition. And then what are we teaching the children? I mean, in a way, it's a good life lesson. Like, life is not always going to be fair, so there are things to take away and learn from that. But it sucks when you see someone put a lot of hard work, and then it's not really reciprocated in the end result. And one of the things that I always go back to whenever this conversation pops up is something I pulled up on the screen here, and I don't know, George might have something to add on.
That's why that's why I haven't interrupted, because I saw that. I say I'm gonna speak after you mentioned this, because I have 2 points here.
I just popped it up so you could see it, and I find it interesting. Obviously, it's not an official match, but if you pop over here, so there's got to be one here for there. It is. So, national soccer team, the women's national soccer team that would play in the Olympics. So, grown athletes playing against the under 17 boys team. In 2017, they lost 5-2. Oh wait, One notable instance was in 2017 when the U.S. women's national team lost 5-2 to an FC Dallas under 15 boys squad in a scrimmage. Okay, it's not an official game, so informal practice, it's a scrimmage. And then again in 2012, the U.S. women's national team was beaten 8-2 by the under 17 U.S. men's national team
In a
scrimmage. So no, these aren't official games, but it is still a little bit of a measure of performance.
But
Obviously,
there are official games. Okay, in Australia, there was a competition in London, and it wasn't a 11 against 11. It was 7 against 7, and it was retired. It was like I think over 50 retired from a team in the 5th division of soccer versus the U.S. national team, and it was 11-0, 11-0.
the national team from the U.S. lost.
Yes, they lost.
So is this more just like the U.S. women's national team's not very good?
No, they are the best.
They lost 11.
No, they are the best when they play against other women.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the talking point. So
Yeah,
one of the
exactly.
things-
That's the point. Yeah, that's exactly the point.
and that's even more metrics to go off of. So one of the best national teams.
just if you pull that, it's gonna be a 5 second. It's just like a sprint man versus woman. Just write sprint man versus woman video. Sprint man versus woman video. It's gonna be
give
the
you context.
it's gonna be clicking videos probably. Yeah, so I will see the video. Yeah, the one there.
The second.
Yeah, could be
Any of them.
could be any of them.
I'm not sure that we can't show this. But
Oh,
we
you
can
can't show-
We can
oh,
watch it. We just
okay.
can't show it.
All right, it's just that it shows a man. Man, it looks
It's
like
dominating.
a train. No, a train wreck going past. Like
So
they made the Polish made a mistake to change the formation, man versus woman,
Yeah.
and then in the last one they were really ahead and they lost by. I think they lost. They got in the 5th position or something like this.
anything else, or is that about it?
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, make sure you go ahead and leave a like.
Comment
Subscribe.
And share with
Hey.
your friends.
and follow us not only on YouTube, but we have a page on X.
TikTok, if it's still here next week.
Instagram.
What is that about TikTok? Is it going to be decommissioned or something?
Yeah, it was banned in the U.S. It goes into effect January 17th, I believe, or the 19th, barring someone buying it.
Mr. Beast has come out and publicly stated he'll buy TikTok.
Elon Musk said he might buy it. I think the owner of the Dodgers said he was interested in buying it. So there's a lot of people interested, but if something
Oh.
doesn't happen,
It's a bidding war.
I think the estimated value for TikTok US is about $50 billion.
Mr. Beast.
If anyone's got
I think he's gonna do that. He's on Amazon, I think, with a show.
I would love
Yeah.
these games.
This games, right? So yeah.
This is the Mr. Beast, business. I'm sure of it. There's no doubt about
It's
it.
Gazette TV in Brazil. The same. Man, have you ever heard about in Brazil Gazette TV?
No.
Like this guy started YouTubing it. Now he's got like more views than any other TV together. So I think Mr. Beast wants something like this, but via social media.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I think we have a lot of things to talk about next week.
Oh yeah, we do.
Make sure you stay tuned, and as always,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We love you.
We love you.
Stay puffing, drinking, and talking.
We do.
Au revoir.